Hi, it's your girl, Felicia, the professional CNA consulting coach, Strawberry 1941 on TikTok. So we are back with part 7 in Trump versus our freedom. Now, I left in part 6 telling you about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and giving you some background knowledge as to who they were. So, originally, Abraham, being a Hebrew, was instructed by God to leave the land of his people, his family, the land of Ur, and that he would take him to the land of Canaan that he would promise to Abraham's descendant, to which he would be a father of many nations. Now, the people of Ur, which is in Mesopotamia, were polytheistic people. They believed in more than one God. So Abraham, originally a Hebrew, his people being Hebrews, believed in more than one God. They believed in worshiping in many, many different ways. So I will look at this today, and this is me saying this. This is more of culture, okay, versus a religion. It was more culture. The culture was dictated the religion. So he moves away and he becomes monotheistic, meaning he is now convinced that there is only one God. And this God is not the God of the moon, but it is the God of of the sun. Okay, so now that they are in the land of Canaan, um, Abraham himself is not in slavery. He doesn't go into slavery. And the Bible can be complex, which is why I want to give you this background information to kind of bring it all together for you to the forefront of your mind, because otherwise it just seems very jumbled up, right? So Abraham is the great great grandfather of Joseph. Okay, so Joseph is the one who is thrown in the pit by his brothers, and they fool the father, Israel. They fool him that the son has been eaten up by animals. So they play this trick on him, which is a terrible thing to do. But this is the deceptive spirit that was in the family that came through Jacob, through the name of Jacob. And I'm going to tell you why I say through the name of Jacob. It really wasn't Jacob himself, it was his name. And we're going to get to that. So, however, he is not in slavery. The captivity of being slave in Egypt comes after this time period, and I don't have the time period in front of me to just recall off the top of my head, because a lot of it is AD and AC and whatnot. It's a lot to remember. So I'm not really focused on that. That's not as important as the content that you need to understand. Okay, so they're not in the captivity of the Egyptians at this time. They're in a time where there's famine in the land. Joseph is able to preserve his family because he's gone through all of these trials and tribulations, and he gets blessed as the favored one to serve the Pharaoh, and he stores up all of this food for the time when the famine is going to take place. So that's just to let you know where Hebrew comes from, because it gets conflicting with the interchanging of the word Hebrew and Israelites, and people get confused with who is who. So even before we can get to the Jews, we've got to deal with who are the Hebrews, okay? The original slavery in this context, it starts with the Hebrews who originally left Mesopotamia, the land of Ur, by Abraham with his family, and he is established in the land of Canaan, where there are already people inhabiting that land and have established townships and states. People such as the Hittites, the Jebusites, those people were already there. They too were polytheistic. They had their own pagan gods that they served and that they worshipped, and they worshipped in many different ways. But God pulled Abraham from a polytheistic where he would become monotheistic, and we're going to have to get into the understanding of why he told him to leave his people, who were doing the same thing as the people in the land where he took him to. And I would have to say that that was done because your family is familiar with you, and these people were not familiar with him. So it would be more maybe acceptable for him to introduce the one and true living God in a different area, and began to instill a new way of thinking, being, and believing, and a condition of an environment by being someone who's neutral. Okay, so he did form relationships with these people, and he even had business transaction with these people. And as you read through the Bible, you'll find out that this was the area of Melchizedek, the high priest. So this is the climate of what was happening prior to the crucifixion of Jesus, who comes through this bloodline of Abraham through his great great grandson, Joseph. So, I'm going to be bringing you some more information. I don't want to overwhelm you because it can even get overwhelming for me. I'm learning along with you in opening up this revelation that the Lord is giving. But I want you to take time to read, not read, well, read, yes, but also to view the prior videos and study the information that's already being given you there. Have it in your mind, let it let it sink in, grasp it, so as we continue moving on in this series, you're able to keep up with what's being said, where it started, and ultimately where we will end it. So God bless you. Have a great day, and read your Bible, go by your library, just pick up all sources that are possible. And also I want to include that in this monotheistic, or there's another word too, I think it's hedonistic. I don't quite have it right, but there is another form of religion that came with the monotheism, where they don't serve more than one God, but they acknowledge other other gods. They acknowledge, people worship the trees, the sun, the moon, nature, Dagon, animals, all kinds of gods that they have. Mars. Um, there was even an emperor who was said to be born from a planet. He didn't have a father. You can't trace a human being in his lineage as to how he would inherit a throne to be an emperor. So that's a whole nother can of worms that we're not going to even get into and get off focus. But just to let you know, this information